Are you tired of scrolling through the same old streaming library? You've binged the hits, you've seen the classics, and now you're stuck in a loop of endless options. But what if I told you there's a goldmine of television buried in the past, a treasure trove of brilliant, groundbreaking, and bonkers shows from the 1960s that have been completely forgotten? Get ready, because we're cracking open the vault to reveal 20 forgotten TV shows from the 1960s that you absolutely must watch right now. The Outer Limits. Step into a dimension of sight and sound with the darker, more scientific cousin to the Twilight Zone. Each episode of The Outer Limits serves up a dose of high-concept science fiction, complete with iconic monsters and thought-provoking stories that still resonate today. What sets this show apart is its extraordinary cinematography and atmosphere, crafted in a film noir style that manipulates light and shadow with masterful precision. Unlike modern series that rely heavily on CGI, The Outer Limits built its worlds through great writing, acting, directing, and visual storytelling. Years ahead of its time, it explored 21st century challenges like human evolution, genetic engineering, nuclear war, and the energy crisis, while probing human foibles like greed, ambition, and fear. One iconic episode, OBIT, even predicted our modern surveillance society, telling the story of a device that allows everyone to spy on everyone else, a chilling allegory for our addiction to watching others' lives. With its haunting original theme music by Dominic Frontier and Harry Lubin that could send prickly spiders crawling up your back. This series isn't just entertainment. It's a mind-bending experience that rewards multiple viewings to catch all the subtleties. The invaders imagine discovering that aliens are among us, but you can't tell who they are. That's the terrifying premise of The Invaders. Architect David Vincent, Roy Thinnes, stumbles upon a secret alien infiltration after witnessing a UFO landing. What follows is a relentless tale of paranoia as Vincent tries to convince a disbelieving world of the impending threat. This series, built on classic sci-fi themes of fear and paranoia, similar to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, to reflect Cold War anxieties about infiltration and distrust. The show opens with the haunting question, how does a nightmare begin? Setting the tone for a series that explores the psychological toll of being the lone voice of reason. What made The Invaders sophisticated was its grounded approach. These weren't obvious monsters, but beings who could look like anyone, turning neighbors and friends into potential threats. Each episode ratchets up the tension as Vincent races against time to expose the truth while the aliens systematically work to silence him. It's pure distilled Cold War paranoia that will have you questioning everyone around you, proving that sometimes the greatest threats are the ones you can't see. Watch now. The Invaders TV show episodes. The Wild Wild West. This isn't your average Western. The Wild Wild West is a glorious mashup of cowboy spies and steampunk gadgets that has had a significant influence on the development and popularization of the steampunk genre. Follow Secret Service agents James West, Robert Conrad, and Artemis Gordon, Ross Martin, as they travel the country in their private train, thwarting megalomaniacal villains with style, wit, and an arsenal of ingenious gadgets. The show featured clever gadgets and costumes, carefully choreographed action and fight sequences, and stories that melded elements of Western science fiction and espionage. What made it revolutionary was its combination of industrial and elegant aesthetics, with lots of ornamentation mechanics and materials that were popular during the Second Industrial Revolution of the 19th and early 20th centuries. This visual style, along with the futuristic technology placed in a historical setting, created a unique blend that appealed to fans of action comedy and science fiction. Whether facing off against bizarre villains or saving the president with their wits and inventions, West and Gordon delivered an absolute blast that proved James Bond meets the Old West was a winning formula. Watch now. The Wild Wild West. Videocast. The Prisoner. A secret agent resigns only to wake up in a surreal, idyllic village from which there is no escape. The Prisoner is a 17-episode philosophical puzzle that challenges everything you think you know about freedom, individuality, and society. Patrick McGoohan's magnum opus is weird, wonderful, and utterly unforgettable. The central theme revolves around his captor's attempts to find out why Number 6 resigned from his job and his attempts to escape from the village and learn the identity of Number 1. By 1967, a fundamental change was in the air, and The Prisoner, with its themes of self-determination and nonconformity, was firmly aligned with the growing counterculture movement. The series poses questions about the manipulative relationship between a TV series writers and their audience, continually challenging viewers to question authority and reality itself. As one analysis notes, it's an allegory about the struggle of the individual in a society that's growing more monolithic. With its psychedelic visuals, cryptic dialogue, and mind-bending plot twists, The Prisoner remains one of television's most daring and thought-provoking series, a true masterpiece that rewards repeated viewing and discussion. Watch now. The Prisoner, voyage to the bottom of the sea dive, deep into adventure with the crew of the futuristic submarine Seaview. Produced by disaster movie king Irwin Allen, this show serves up a colorful mix of underwater exploration espionage and glorious campy fun with giant sea monsters and saboteurs. It's pure, unadulterated 60s sci-fi adventure that embraced the fantastic with enthusiasm. The series featured an array of creatures including ghosts, mermaids, lycanthropes, and leprechauns, making each episode a potential monster mash. One memorable episode even depicted a giant sea monster attacking a small Norwegian fishing village, blending maritime adventure with horror elements. What made the show special was its ability to balance serious underwater drama with outright fantasy, creating a tone that was both thrilling and wonderfully absurd. The Seaview itself was a marvel of fictional engineering, and the series celebrated the spirit of Irwin Allen's particular brand of disaster-oriented science fiction. Whether facing off against sea creatures or enemy agents, the adventures of Admiral Nelson and his crew remain a testament to the era's love for technological optimism and monster mayhem. Watch now, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. The Avengers. While not entirely forgotten, the peak seasons of this British classic, featuring the incomparable Diana Rigg as the brilliant leather-clad Emma Peel, are essential viewing. It's witty, sophisticated, and visually stunning, defining cool for the decade, with its blend of spy-fi and eccentric villains. Rigg's performance elevated the Avengers beyond typical action shows, introducing a dynamic that appealed to both male and female audiences. In her slinky leather catsuits and super short miniskirts, Emma Peel brought a fetishistic element to fashion that became iconic. What made the series amazing was that despite plots frequently being incoherent, that was part of the fun. The chemistry between characters and the stylish execution mattered more than logical storytelling. Even though we never saw a young Mrs. Peel in school or training, she clearly had done her homework in a number of disciplines, making her an intelligent and capable partner to John Steed. The series was more than just a television show. It was a cultural phenomenon that combined intelligence, humor, and visual flair in a way that few shows have managed before or since. Watch now, The Avengers, British TV series. F Troop, get ready for one of the most surreal and satirical sitcoms of its time. F Troop lovingly parodies Western tropes with rapid-fire gags and silent film-style physical comedy. The misadventures of the bumbling soldiers at Fort Courage are a comedic masterpiece that feels ahead of its time. Set at a fictional U.S. Army outpost in the Wild West during the 1860s, the series is known for its satirical take on Western genre conventions, blending slapstick comedy with social commentary. What made F Troop stand out was its sharp satire of the Western genre, delivering a non-stop barrage of sight gags, puns, and silly jokes that paved the way for future satires like Police Squad and The Naked Gun. The show often parodied historical events and figures, using its setting to comment on contemporary issues through the lens of absurdity. Despite its short run, F Troop remains fresh and funny even decades later, proving that good satire and clever writing never truly go out of style. It's a nutty satire of police dramas from the creators who would later make The Airplane. Films delivering humor that was both smart and wonderfully silly. Watch now F Troop, The Addams Family. Often overshadowed by The Munsters. The Addams Family is the wittier, more macabre of the two spooky sitcoms. John Astin's Gomez and Carolyn Jones's Morticia share a wonderfully romantic and ghoulish relationship. The show is a masterclass in deadpan humor and gothic chic that remains delightfully charming. Unlike the Munsters, who weren't disengaged from the world around them and aspired to be involved, the Addams Family existed in their own bubble of macabre bliss. What made the Addams Family special was its sharper humor compared to the Munsters' more gentle sitcom style. The family was more classic in their approach to horror, embracing their dark nature with sophistication and intelligence, rather than the blue-collar comedy of their monster counterparts. The series worked because it never attempted any type of overt realism. Its value came from a combination of slapstick and covert social commentary wrapped in gothic packaging. With their mansion full of torture devices and relatives who seemed straight out of a horror story, the Addams Family taught us that normality is overrated and that being different is something to celebrate. Watch now The Addams Family, full episodes. MGM, Car 54. Where Are You? Before Barney Miller or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, there was this chaotic and hilarious look at the misadventures of two mismatched NYPD patrolmen in the Bronx. The incredible comedic chemistry between Fred Gwynne and Joe E. Ross makes this a time capsule of early 60s New York, filled with off-the-wall situations. Created by Nat Hiken, some of the warmest and funniest humor that was ever put on television came from his fertile pen when he created Car 54. Where Are You? As it came out at the beginning of the Kennedy presidency and only lasted 2 seasons, it can be said that it was a perfect fit for the Camelot years. The series followed the comedic misadventures of 2 officers in a mythical police station in the Bronx, delivering humor that was both absurd and affectionate. What made the show special was its ability to capture the energy and diversity of New York City while maintaining a warm, humanistic approach to its characters. Even decades later, the humor remains fresh and funny, proving that great character-driven comedy never truly goes out of style. Watch now, Car 54. Where Are You? Hogan's Heroes. Yes, the premise is audacious, a group of Allied POWs running a spy ring out of a German POW camp, but the execution is pure farce. It's a clever, witty wartime comedy about a group of heroes who never fire a shot, led by the late, great Bob Crane. Hogan's Heroes, 1965 to 1971, was a beloved American sitcom about the hijinks in a Nazi POW camp during World War II. Critics of the show faulted it for turning the story of a Wubwutautu POW camp into stuff of comedy, with some finding no humor in incompetent Nazis. However, the show was intended as brilliant escapist comedy with great social commentary that pushed the envelope on numerous issues. The German characters were the bad guys, but they were portrayed as bumbling and incompetent rather than truly evil, allowing the comedy to work without trivializing the real horrors of war. What made the series successful was its clever writing and ensemble cast, who managed to find humor in the absurdities of war while maintaining an underlying respect for the Allied heroes' ingenuity and courage. Watch now, Hogan's Heroes. The Beverly Hillbillies. Once the most watched show on television, its cultural footprint has surprisingly faded. This gentle, hilarious fish-out-of-water story about a poor mountaineer family striking oil and moving to Beverly Hills is pure gold. The chemistry between the cast is undeniable, and the culture clash comedy is timeless. What made the Beverly Hillbillies 1962-1971 work wasn't just the fish-out-of-water comedy. It was the sincerity of its characters. The show never attempted any type of overt realism. Its value came from a combination of slapstick and covert social commentary. The series had a profound impact on Southern stereotypes, both supporting and changing opinions of rural Americans. Unlike some shows that might be considered offensive today, the Beverly Hillbillies was a classic fish-out-of-water story that put its characters in absurd situations without mocking their core values or intelligence. The Clampetts' innocence and honesty in the face of Beverly Hills' superficiality provided both humor and heart, making the show a comforting presence in American homes for nearly a decade. Watch now. The Beverly Hillbillies have Gun Will Travel. This is the thinking person's Western. Richard Boone stars as Paladin, a sophisticated, educated gunslinger for hire who's as comfortable with a chessboard as he is with a pistol. The writing is sharp and intelligent, often exploring moral gray areas in a way that was revolutionary for its time. In Paladin's fictional world, he represents the best of American aspirations, embodying ideals of independence, morality, adventure, and complex history. What made the show unique was its introduction. Unlike other Western heroes, Paladin was a complex figure who worked out of a San Francisco hotel and was hired through advertisements in the newspaper. The series encapsulated a multifaceted aspect of American identity, with Boone's portrayal of Paladin representing a perfect example of an intellectual gunslinger. Each episode explored not just gunfights, but ethical dilemmas and philosophical questions, elevating the Western format to something more thoughtful and literary. 62 years later, this underrated TV Western still has lessons to teach about honor, justice, and the complexity of human nature. Watch now. Have Gun Will Travel, 1958-1960. The Untouchables. Gritty, violent, and stylishly filmed, this show was a revelation. Robert Stack's stone-faced Eliot Ness is an icon as he battles organized crime in 1930s Chicago. The narration by Walter Winchell gives it the feel of a hard-boiled newsreel, and it defines crime procedural for a generation. The series was old-school gangster trapping with highly stylized violence that felt brutal and authentic. Robert Stack was described as a thinking man's thinking man, with sex appeal, bringing a cool intelligence to the role that elevated the show beyond typical crime drama. What made The Untouchables unbeatable was its combination of historical authenticity, dramatic tension, and moral clarity. Producer Quinn Martin revealed that the appeal lay in Eliot Ness and company's unwavering commitment to justice in the face of overwhelming corruption. The series' influence would extend to cinema, with Brian De Palma stepping up graphic levels of blood and violence in the 1987 film adaptation to heighten the effect of dire stakes. For those who love crime stories with style and substance, The Untouchables remains essential viewing. Watch now The Untouchables, full episodes. Honey West, Anne Francis stars as one of TV's first truly independent, capable female leads, a glamorous private eye who inherits her father's detective agency and fights crime with cunning and a pet ocelot. It was groundbreaking for its time and remains a blast to watch. The perception that Honey West was ahead of its time was significant. Francis shattered female stereotypes by portraying a detective who was feminine but also tough enough to use judo to take out larger men. The character first appeared in a series of books before making a guest appearance on Burke's Law, eventually getting her own series with 30 episodes on ABC during 1965 and 1966. What made the series special was its blend of glamour and grit, with Honey navigating dangerous cases while maintaining her femininity and intelligence. The series starred Anne Francis as Detective Honey West and John Erickson as her partner Sam, creating a dynamic that balanced action mystery and subtle romance. For its time, having a female lead who was competent, complex, and never needed rescuing was revolutionary, paving the way for future female detectives on television. Watch now. Honey West, full episodes. I Spy. This show made history as the first American drama to feature a black actor, Bill Cosby, in a lead role. The chemistry between Cosby and Robert Culp is legendary, and the on-location filming, a first for a TV drama, gives it a cinematic feel that still holds up today. I Spy was controversial because it featured Bill Cosby, a black actor in a starring role, the first program in mainstream television to do so. What made the series special was the relationship between the two leads, with Cosby noting that we almost had our own language and our own way of connecting sometimes, without saying anything. Robert Culp, a veteran actor, helped Cosby navigate the acting process since Cosby had not been trained as an actor. The breakthrough series starred veteran actor Robert Culp and newcomer Bill Cosby, with their chemistry becoming the heart of the show. Filmed on location around the world rather than on a studio backlot, the series had a visual richness and authenticity that set it apart from other spy dramas of its era. Cosby's enormous legacy as Alexander Scotty Scott helped pave the way for greater diversity in television while delivering entertaining adventures with social significance. Naked City. A pioneering police procedural filmed on the streets of New York City. Naked City has a gritty, realistic, almost documentary-like feel that was revolutionary. It focused as much on the victims and perpetrators as the cops telling poignant human stories with the famous sign-off. There are 8 million stories in the Naked City. The 1948 film that inspired the TV series was filmed entirely on location in New York, using not only location shots, but also some non-professional actors to achieve its realism. This approach influenced the television series to maintain a documentary-style authenticity that was unusual for its time. The show could work within the strictures of urban documentary realism, capturing the energy and diversity of New York City in a way that felt both dramatic and authentic. Although it is certainly noir, the Naked City's biggest influence was the film movement that similarly focused on the impact of W. Sauers on urban landscapes and human psychology. The series is easy to underestimate or dismiss as trivial or dated, but its nuanced portrayal of crime and humanity in the big city remains impressive. For those who appreciate gritty realism and character-driven storytelling, Naked City offers a compelling look at urban life that still resonates today. Watch now. The Naked City. The Defenders. This was one of the most socially conscious dramas of its era. A father and son team of defense attorneys took on controversial and difficult cases, tackling topics like abortion censorship, the death penalty, and blacklisting. It was provocative, brilliant, and unafraid to challenge its audience. When The Defenders premiered during the early 60s, watching honorable lawyers on television was in most cases witnessing noble defense attorneys outsmarting prosecutors and unjust systems. The CBS legal drama debuted in 1961 when TV was being described as a vast wasteland, but it stood out as a landmark courtroom series that addressed many previously untouched sensitive issues. What made the series special was that it wasn't a whodunit show like Perry Mason. Instead, it focused on the legal and ethical dilemmas surrounding the cases. The show negotiated anxieties regarding the legal profession and the justice system while delivering compelling human dramas. Cases raised many of the same legal issues that Law and Order would later explore, but with a depth and complexity that was groundbreaking for its time. For its bold approach to controversial topics and its nuanced portrayal of the legal profession, The Defenders remains a high point of television drama. Watch now, Defenders, 1961 to 1965, TV series. The 11th Hour. A somber, mature, and deeply moving show that treated mental illness with unprecedented seriousness. This psychiatric anthology series focused on doctors and their deeply troubled patients with scripts from top writers and guest stars who would become legends. It was a powerful, ahead-of-its-time drama. However, the series presented challenges. It was assailed by psychologists who said it presented more often than not a false picture of the treatment of mental disturbances. Despite this controversy, the show attempted to tackle psychiatric issues with a seriousness that was rare for television at the time. The series focused on the work of psychiatrists and their patients, exploring the complexities of mental health and treatment in a way that was both educational and dramatic. What made The 11th Hour significant was its willingness to engage with difficult subject matter during an era when mental illness was often stigmatized or misunderstood. While some professionals criticized its portrayal of psychiatric practices, the series at least brought important conversations about mental health into mainstream American homes. For those interested in the history of how mental health has been portrayed on television, The 11th Hour represents a fascinating and well-intentioned effort. Watch now. The 11th Hour, 1962 TV series. The Time Tunnel. Another Irwin Allen classic with an irresistible concept. Two scientists get trapped in a time travel experiment and are hurled into history's greatest events each week. From the Titanic to the Battle of Little Bighorn, it's pure high-concept adventure with a fantastic theme song. Created by Irwin Allen, often dubbed the Master of Disaster for his work on disaster movies such as The Poseidon Adventure, the series was inspired by the popularity of science fiction and time travel concepts. The Time Tunnel was a U.S. research project 800 floors below the American desert, with some breathtaking glimpses into this deep pit. What made the show special was its visual style. Time travel was experienced predominantly as a visual experience, with Doug and Tony physically entering each historical period. The series analyzed visual-style TV format and production in the context of 1960s TV culture, creating a unique viewing experience. While the historical accuracy might have been questionable at times, the excitement of seeing two modern scientists confront historical events made for compelling television. For fans of time travel stories and 1960s science fiction, The Time Tunnel remains a delightful example of the era's imaginative approach to the genre. Watch now, The Time Tunnel. Mr. Lucky John Vivian stars as the incredibly cool Honorable Lucky, a professional gambler who runs a floating casino off the coast of California. With a memorable Henry Mancini theme song, this stylish, character-driven show is a smooth, sophisticated delight that was gone too soon. Mr. Lucky is an honest professional gambler who used his plush floating casino ship Fortuna as his base of operations. His good friend Andamo helped him run the casino, and the two were often caught in dangerous situations, betting on whether or not they'd survive. What made the series unique was its premise. Lucky carried a pocket watch whose chimes play the first 5 notes of the Mr. Lucky theme music, adding a stylish audio signature to the character. The series was an adventure drama that aired from 1959 to 1960, offering a sophisticated alternative to more typical television fare. Oddly enough, Mr. Lucky has no first name, adding to his mystique as a character who operates by his own code of honor. For those who enjoy character-driven stories with style, sophistication, and a touch of mystery, Mr. Lucky remains a hidden gem that deserves rediscovery. Watch now. Mr. Lucky. So there you have it. 20 incredible shows forgotten by time, but bursting with creativity, waiting for you to press play. They are the hidden gems, the unsung masterpieces, the wild rides that defined a generation of television. Which one are you rushing to watch first?